WWDB 860 AM Philadelphia and WPEN HD2 Burlington, Philadelphia. Entrepreneur, author, and financial consultant Mark Bernstein helps high-performing entrepreneurial business owners create a vision for the future and follow through on their goals and intentions. Ange Honorato is a business growth strategist who blends psychology and business together to create conscious leaders and business owners who impact the world. Founders Forum is a radio show podcast sharing the real stories behind entrepreneurship as founders discover more about themselves while providing valuable lessons and some fun and entertainment for you. Now, here's Mark and Ange.
Good morning, America. How are you? Good morning, Arlo. Good morning, Bruce, if you're listening. Good morning, everybody. It's a lovely day in Philadelphia, and I hope it's a lovely day wherever you are across America or across the world. In Florida. Our guest today is in Florida. And how are you today, Ange?
I am very, very excited. In fact, I think we both are. For us, this is kind of Christmas week. You know, it's Bruce Springsteen week in Philadelphia. I love that you're wearing one of my favorite lines on your T-shirt for the Big Bruce show tonight.
One of yours too, huh?
Yeah, so I'm going both nights. And a little fun fact, on Friday night, which is the 18th, my very first ever Bruce show was August 19th, 1984, to date myself. So 39 years almost to the day. And
of course it was. You always have things like that happen.
Exactly, right. So I am very, very excited. Equally as excited to talk to our guest today, and that's not lip service. I really am interested to hear about this. Yep. And
what does my T-shirt say that you like so much?
It's one of my favorite lines. You know, your mama don't like me because I play in a rock and roll band, which is very apropos for you as well.
And why do you like it so much?
It's just one of my favorite songs, and it's it defines Bruce and his entire career.
Well, for me, I like it because I was that long-haired hippie type guy, like the scraggly Bruce Springsteen of old, who wasn't always that popular with the parents at first. I did grow on them. I had that ability, but it wasn't
long-haired, skinny hippie kid, right?
Right. So it wasn't always an immediate love at first sight kind of thing. So that line always struck me as being important to me in my formative years. So today I'm going to jump real quick because we're going to have we're actually doing one show live as we talk on the radio now. We're doing another recorded one with our guest today, who we will introduce in a minute. But I've been thinking a lot about AI, even aside from this show today, because it's everywhere, and we're going to have more shows on AI because it's influencing our lives in ways that we can't even imagine, and the speed at which everything has been changing in our lives, especially technology, which has been super fast. This is going to be, someone told me recently, 30 times what it's been, even over the next year, which I believe that it's going to influence everything we do. And in fact, it's on my mind because in our financial services business, we had a meeting the other day to try to get ahead of how we use AI in our business, because if we don't get ahead of it, we'll be behind. And we're recognizing that pretty quickly. So I'm just going to mention a quote that was given to me because I work with a number of manufacturers. And in fact, our guest today, Logan, will be speaking to the manufacturing group in a few weeks. And, you know, I've already, in testing the subject out, there's already people fearful of it. They're fearful for their employees. And one of the things, I said that to somebody this week, and he said, and I'm going to get Logan's opinion on this, I think he'll agree in some form or another. He said, you know, technicians who aren't familiar with AI are going to lose their jobs, but technicians who know how to harness AI are going to become that much more valuable. Logan, we didn't introduce you yet, but your thoughts on that statement?
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. And I was just at a conference this last week talking to folks in the poultry industry, and a lot of them have a lot of fear about AI taking their jobs as well. But if you can harness it in the right way, it's going to make everyone better at their job and faster. And there's so much automation that's been in these industries, including manufacturing. And we didn't see a mass exodus there. You know, we see things get more efficient, and AI is the same.
The gentleman I was speaking to, who we'll be having on the show in a few weeks, is a lot more. We're going to talk about what you do, but you're much more in the technical aspect of AI. And I'm not going to give it away, but he's using AI in terms of marketing, and that's more his vision of it. And I just lost my train of thought about that. Oh, we're
You're saying the
I lost my
differences,
train.
the
It'll come
differences
back.
between marketing AI
Yeah.
and the technology side.
Yes.
And I think there's just it's the Wild West a lot out there. So let's do a quick introduction. Obviously, this is we're very excited today to
Thanks
have.
for bailing me out there.
Nah,
I
hey, well, this
appreciate
is what we do, right? It's live radio, as we're learning.
it. Late night last night. preparing for
Exactly.
the-
So Logan Dopp from Toren AI, thanks so much for being here today. We're really excited to kind of do double duty with you today. And, just a little bit about your background we were sharing offline. I think can't wait to really hear your story come together. But, I mean, you've been in the nonprofit space. You've been in counterintelligence, DOD. You've been in manufacturing. I think you've got an amazing entrepreneurial story, and we're excited to hear about it and learn about you. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us, how did you get the entrepreneurial bug, and how did those dots in your life and career get connected?
Sure, and thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about AI and my background as well. There's, like you said, it's the Wild West, which is both exciting and a little nerve-wracking at the same time. But yeah, my background, I kind of got thrown into the entrepreneurial space. In college, I was working for a nonprofit doing clean water initiatives, and our little chapter had developed this project that we were going to go in Central America and do some clean water initiatives. And, life happens. And I think that organization ran out of funding for that project. And I kind of said, people are counting on us. Somebody's got to do something. And ended up from that founding my own nonprofit to go do clean water initiatives, but had a element of it that we sold water bottles in order to generate revenue for those clean water projects. And so kind of got the initial flavor of what it was to run a business, a retail business that had that nonprofit side as well. And I was actively involved running that for 4 or 5 years until, life came around and ended up going to grad school and moved away. And then I think it just kind of continued through when I was a graduate student. I got involved in a program that specifically designed DoD problem sets for these students to kind of hack together a solution. And I can talk more about that program. It's, hugely influential. It's changed how I think about problem solving. But sort of my path kind of threw me into entrepreneurship because I said, somebody's got to solve this problem.
Hmm. So along those lines, so maybe I'll take your bait there and go back to that question. Entrepreneurs, as we've seen on the show, because everyone we have on is entrepreneurial, even if they're running nonprofits. We've had leaders at nonprofits, but they're, sometimes they're starting that from scratch, and they're as entrepreneurial as business leaders many times. So I'm sure you had experiences in that, as you alluded to, that shaped you as an entrepreneur of a for-profit company today. What, especially the struggles, are something that people learn from. We always talk about there are no failures, there are only lessons. So what kind of things did you confront that you think have really shaped your experience today, as you mentioned, in terms of how you're running your business today?
Yeah, I think even in the nonprofit space, like you said, very entrepreneurial people in all walks of life. But I think it might have been from the hard thing about hard things, the Ben Horowitz book. I can't recall, but there was a phrase of every entrepreneur feels two emotions, elation or existential dread, and there's no in between.
Right.
And even in the other types of entrepreneurship work that I've done, I think learning how to deal with a measured sense of elation when things are going well, and learning how to rebound and bounce back from the existential dread when timelines are ticking down, things are not coming together, and be able to really get in and solve those problems. Some of my work in the counterterrorism or counterintelligence field, where we had to come up with, high pressure, tight deadline solutions, really helped shape some of that ability to balance what an entrepreneur needs to do. And I like to say for us, and I'm supported by an amazing team at Toren AI. And really the core of it is when things go wrong, do you have a team that can figure it out? It really doesn't have anything to do with knowing the exact path you're going to start from point A to point Z. But when things go wrong in the middle, do you have a team that can, knuckle down and figure it out? So I think some of those experiences of how to balance the emotions of when things don't go right or when they do go right, and staying measured.
So I don't know if you know the book, but an entrepreneurial coach of mine is Dan Sullivan, who operates under the Strategic Coach, and he has a book out on the market called Who, Not How. So if you have the right people in place, the problems tend to solve themselves. If you don't, that's where a lot of the struggles come in. It sounds like that's your reference.
Totally believe that.
Yeah, so no question about it. Yeah. And how does that assist you in your business today? I assume you've surrounded yourself with some brilliant people.
Yeah, I really have. We have great people, and especially in the field of AI, where everything is so new and emerging. You maybe can't take a look and say, what is the case study, or is there some Harvard Business Review that I can look to of a great business model for how to run an AI company? I mean, there's some great AI companies out there, but with the way that technology is changing, how you actually apply that new and emerging tech, there's not necessarily a blueprint for that. And we have an excellent team of people that are, empathetic listeners. So they're not only engineers, but they can get in and talk to our customer base, and they can talk to the people that actually use our technology and say, how do you do your job? Instead of trying to come in and say, I've got a solution for you, sit down. They can walk in and say, tell me how you do your job, and how can AI help that?
We're going to get into, we're recording a second show today that's really going to get into AI. For now, I want to stay on your story for a minute. So we talked about, some of the struggles. How about successes that you've had so far in your company, and how have they shaped you for the future?
Yeah, I think some of the successes have been, our ability to get in and talk to people, like we were saying, and having a great team that can get in and figure out, what is the real problem, has led to a lot of successes, because some of the challenges in this field is, how do we apply this new and emerging technology to a problem set? And we have seen a lot of success by actually getting in with people and, walking the production floor of a manufacturing facility, or getting out with some of our military customers and identifying how they actually do their jobs, has led to success in creating solutions for them. And I think, for me personally, I never wanted to wear a suit and sit in an office, and being able to get and interact with a lot of different kinds of people is a really fun part about being an entrepreneur too.
I understand that. Similar in my business and Angie's business. So I just want to summarize what you just said. So the ability to get in and have the conversation in the first place, the ability to listen, observe and listen, and then the ability to take that information and analyze it and start looking at solutions. Go ahead, Angie. I know you.
Yeah, no, and we're going to take a break here in a second here, Logan, but maybe it'd be a good time for you to think about an answer to this. And I'd like to kind of probe a little bit on, the part you said there about finding those problem sets and the innovation. And I think the part of your story that I find really interesting, which leads us into what you're doing and how and why you created Toren AI, which is that, the combination of the university and the DoD and at Stanford. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be, and what was the problem set that the government came seeking answers for?
Sure. Yeah, so most of my professional career background has been as an analyst. I was a counterterrorism analyst and a counterintelligence analyst, trying to help corporations defend their space, defend their people, and defend their intellectual property and their technology. And we were really innovative in trying to use technology to help find those threat indicators. And the stakes are really high in those kinds of industries. You have to find, predictive indicators of what might be a threat. And most of my career was kind of around that time of the Las Vegas shooting or the bombing at the Ariana Grande concert. So there were like a lot of problems and challenges that were facing corporations. And I was able to implement some of the technology into helping us find that needle in the haystack. And when I went to the Georgetown program, they had just launched a center for security and emerging technology. So thinking about, how do we do national security and use emerging technology to solve some of these problem sets? I had wonderful professors at Georgetown, and this class that I took was called Hacking for Defense. It was originally a Stanford program started by a guy named Steve Blank, to take, scrappy business school entrepreneurs and pair them with a problem from the DoD and see if they can hack a solution. And that sounded the perfect pairing to what I had been doing and what I wanted to do. So the actual problem that got thrown at us was from the Office of Naval Intelligence. And it was, how can we use cameras to detect and then classify boats? So cargo containers, military vessels. That way we don't have to have a human watchstander with binoculars trying to identify a boat. We can use technology, computer vision, to help us do our job faster. So that was the original problem that got thrown at us, and it's now taken several left and right turns. But the underlying technology of how do we apply computer vision to, detect and classify things is the core of what Toren AI does now.
That's an excellent jumping off point for our commercial break. We'll be back in a minute with a lot more with Logan Dopp.
Establishing a self-directed Roth IRA or other self-directed retirement plan offers access to investment options usually only available to well-connected or wealthy individuals. Anyone can build wealth and achieve tax-free income for life and financial freedom without the inordinate risk of speculative investing, securities trading, exotic financial instruments, or hoping for the best from the stock market. Since their inception in 2003, Camaplan has come to be synonymous with expertise, flexibility, responsiveness, and diversity of investment choices. They provide innovative investment opportunities for investors seeking direct control and more choices in how they deploy their investment capital. Camaplan doesn't just make it possible to invest in alternative assets, they also teach investors how to put their money to work. Take the road to financial freedom today. Go to camaplan.com/IRA.
We are back. We are back at Founders Forum. I think we had a little headphone issue there. And we're with Logan Dopp of Toren AI. And before the show's over, we're going to talk about, because we met Logan a few weeks ago, and he had a different name for his company, which was called Cutting Edge AI, and which I think Ange and I thought was a pretty good name because it kind of distinguishes you from the group, but obviously you wanted to do better. So we're going to have you talk about that a little bit. In fact, why don't we address that now? Why don't we get right into that?
Sure. Yeah, we still are probably going to use cutting edge AI for some of the government work that we have. But the launch of Toren AI helps us kind of distinguish between the government stuff we've been doing for about 3 years since the company's been around and kind of look towards the commercial industry. And the name Toren AI comes from a word for lighthouse in Dutch, which is vuurtoren. And so we really like the theme of Toren, where we can talk about how lighthouses can stand out in austere environments and help protect ships that were coming in, but also being able to shine a spotlight and find things. And so some of the products that we've developed for the commercial industry to split from cutting edge AI doing some government work is to bring, security solutions to commercial spaces, bring health and safety solutions for, PPE, personal protective equipment detection for manufacturing industries, or a business optimization where we can use that same underlying AI to just do workflow counting and anomaly detection. If the production line is down, what's the root cause analysis of it? So the impetus of the name change is kind of just helping us distinguish between some of the government stuff that we're doing versus a launch of these commercial products we've just developed.
So I love the lighthouse metaphor. And in a way, that kind of shines the light on your future as a company as well. So two questions, related questions. I'm going to leave it open-ended and let you address this. But if you looked out a year from now, if this is August of 2024 and you're looking back on the last year, this is the first part of the question. What would have to happen for you to feel that was a successful business year for you? And secondly, you were talking about threats to your companies and to the government, and that your job is to kind of deal with those, identify those threats and deal with them. What threats do you see to your company? Obviously, there's a lot of competition out there. You're in, very, I would say, volatile waters in terms of the future of AI. So tell us about your vision, what threats there are, and what kind of opportunities and strengths you have around those threats.
Yeah, I think those questions are related. And if we look back, retrospectively over a year, what would indicate success for us? It would really be that we have, customers that are finding value and finding solutions in the use of AI. And I think that ties into some of the threats for the company is that AI is new and emerging. And in some cases, it's really hard to apply. And it's not as simple as saying, I've got this challenge with my business where I need to go manage my employees. AI, the easy button. It doesn't work like that. And some of the challenges that we see in some of the threats to the business, or even just using AI in general, is how do we apply it in the right ways? We don't want to scare people to thinking it's Big Brother or Skynet. We don't want to displace people from their jobs. We want to have it work intuitively alongside the human. So a measure of success is, we're the companies that we're supporting using AI to actually craft solutions in their company and finding better value. And is the AI improving? Or is it riddled with holes and we can't figure out how to apply it? And those are some of the challenges and concerns and threats to the company, is how do we do this the right way?
And you obviously have some strengths to deal with that, I think, because it's worked for you so far. So what kind of tools do you have in your toolbox to help you deal with those threats?
Yeah, I think most of our company, the team that we have, come from kind of an operator background. That most of us were not necessarily PhD researchers in the field of emerging technology. A lot of us were on the ground, people doing stuff in either the security industry or the logistics industries, where we're out on production floors, or even from military backgrounds where we're out, doing actual stuff. Um, and so I think being able to understand what an operator or what our customers actually do in their day-to-day jobs, and listen and be empathetic on it, like I mentioned, is something that is a strength for us, the team of how we put that together. And that's one of the great parts of being an entrepreneur too, is that you get to surround yourself and kind of, especially as a founder, self-select and pick your team of really qualified people that you want to work with, and you get to craft this, your own little tribe to go try and solve problems. And I think that's our biggest strength, is our ability to put a good team together and go find solutions.
So it's the who, not how again. And I'm going to ask you a quick question that Ange, I know, will want to follow up on, which is how many employees do you have today in your company? How large is your tribe?
Yeah.
10 full-time people. Yeah. Got it. And I know, Ange, you have some questions around that.
Yeah, well, and I think, and we'll kind of start the conversation now and probably have time to delve into it further. But, I always look at companies and opportunities in terms of both, and I think your business and the whole idea of AI, Logan, is going to affect, I like to think of it, the humans behind the work, right? So we talked a little bit about, you mentioned earlier, where some people think, the ones that are going to be embracing AI will be able to work alongside of it, and those that don't will probably end up losing their jobs from it, because they're going to end up fearing it and not learning how to kind of, operate with it. And so, I think particularly in the manufacturing space, right? And you've got a lot of clients there and they're looking to operationalize and all that. But I'm curious, are you finding clients doing anything yet to address that issue? Like, how do we train our people to understand where AI fits in, and that it's not something purposely designed to replace all the humans? I mean, are you finding clients having that conversations yet internally? Or is it still just sort of, let me understand the technology first, and then we'll kind of figure it out, or a little bit of both?
That's a great question. I think we're still in the let me feel out the technology phase, which is an okay place to be. But certainly the leadership being able to say, we have some understanding and can wrap our head around what AI is and how it can help our processes, and then communicating that to, their workforces. And in some cases, these manufacturing companies are, very large, tens of thousands of employees, and they have to talk about that change management that comes in. So I think we're early on. I think it's still in the let's see what technology can even do here phase. But it's a great question. I'm excited to see some of the leadership into how we talk about these things and incorporate them into our businesses.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, and I'm a good example of it, right? So even less than 6 months ago, it was, oh, geez, here we go. I'm in an industry where, we're doing executive recruiting and resumes and things of that nature. And you think, oh, they're not going to need any of us, right? And what I quickly changed my thinking on that is, the idea is that the personal experiences we have as leaders or whatever, that comes from us, right? And I've been using it to then create the information, the content, and we'll talk about this later about the difference between what you do and large language models or Chat GPT. But I've learned how to embrace that and plug my information in there and just make it more concise and make it more digestible, and then really leverage that, right? So I think it's about how do we help clients, employees, companies understand, just that how do we work in tandem with it, I think is going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Logan, I know you're a reader. You alluded to Ben Horowitz before, and I know you're a reader. What are you reading today? What are you up to from a reading perspective today?
I've recently been trying to read some more novels because it helps
Ah,
me actually disconnect from reading up on AI all the time. And I think I always find myself rereading *100 Years of Solitude*, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is one of my favorite books. And maybe that's kind of a reflection of life as a founder too, that sometimes it feels like *100 Years of Solitude* as you're out trying to forge new paths and things, um, and adapt to those changes as they come. So I'm reading that novel, but then also, like I mentioned, the Ben Horowitz book has been really great.
interesting. We are going to be back recording. We have 2 minutes left. Anything else? We've been talking about music, Ange and I. You know what we're listening to tonight. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Or do you have
Oh
time
man,
to? But
well,
Do you get to listen to any music, I
you
guess?
know, the funniest story I have about what to listen to is we had a bunch of interns at the previous company that I was at, and I used to ask the interns on our analyst floor, do you guys want any ambient music in the background? What do you want? And I had one intern say, I want McDonald's noises.
ah,
And it was just like the ambient atmosphere, and it helped him concentrate. And I was like, that is a unique one. So I can't say I listen to ambient McDonald's noise all the time, but sometimes just the white noise distraction is great.
So I worked in a hamburger joint once. I'm trying to imagine what
Oh,
that
yeah.
is, the ambient noise, the sound of hamburgers falling on the floor when you miss the grill, or what
yeah,
is that?
there must be a
That
backstory
might
or
be.
first job story or something there that made him feel comfortable.
Must
But
be.
yeah, so no waterfalls and yoga music in the background. It's fries and burgers. Interesting. Well,
Yep.
whatever it takes to
Yep.
get you guys to build what you're building is whatever it takes.
Yep. That's true.
Any final thoughts? We have about 30 seconds left from anybody.
Yeah, I think Ange and I were talking a little bit ago about just how fast things are changing and seeing people be able to adopt stuff. I mean, I'm a core millennial, so I remember dial-up internet all the way to now AI. And I think that pace of change is here to stay.
Well, I remember when dial-up vividly was a phone, not not internet.
Yeah.
Which is
Well, I have to claim the fame that my first job out of college for a big global German company, and I had the thrill of having the first ever U.S.-based email address, first email address that was not mainframe. They gave me a corporate credit card, and I got the very first AOL address, and all day long you just heard that dial-up sound, and
Yep.
everybody came running around and saying, "What's going on?" So yes, we're in for new exciting things here. Well, excited for the second show to kind of dive a little bit further into things, but it's been great to get to know you, and we're teeing up for part two.
life
Had a
is
great time.
moving
Thank
along
you.
rapidly.
Just
Life,
like the show.
technology, the show, and it's time for us to close out part one with Logan Dopp. See you next week on Founders Forum.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum today and you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WWDB Talk Radio and always at the Founders Forum show page at WWDBAM.com.